Hello and welcome to this first video in the Commerce Acceleration 101 series. And this series is going to be a number of videos, webinars, papers and live events all about business growth. And this one is going to start us off with the 5 principles of commerce acceleration. But before we start, let's ask ourselves, what is commerce acceleration? It's about growth. It's about growing a business as fast as possible, but also sustainably. And to grow a business sustainably, you need profit. And we're going to focus on retailers and wholesalers. So that's businesses selling products rather than service companies. So before we start, let's go back all the way to business basics, where we're going to look at what makes a business grow or what leads to growth. So many businesses focus just on the revenue side of things, but equally important is the ability to reduce your costs. And of course the revenue less the costs gives your profit. So to grow the business as fast as possible, not only do we need to increase the revenue, we also need to decrease the costs. And throughout the series we'll be looking at ways of doing both. Increasing revenue by expanding into sales channels, decreasing costs by buying smarter, and of course having a really good view on what your profit is so that you can reinvest appropriately into the right products, the right channels and the right marketing. And we've broken down commerce acceleration into 5 separate principles. And these principles are automation, efficiency, insight, expansion and profit. What we'll do now is we'll actually look at these in a little bit more detail, and that's going to be the aim of this particular presentation, is to dig into these and then take you on to the next steps. So why would you want to automate your business? The key thing here is automating is basically getting a software system or a computer system to do what you might otherwise be doing manually. And once you've got a computer system doing it, then you're much less likely to make mistakes. So you've built the system, it's integrated with another system, and the computer is doing all the work. Also, it really improves the spread of time that you put into the business. It means that your staff are spending less time on administrative tasks and more time on what we call growth activities. So growth activities are things like marketing, talking to your customers, choosing what products to stock, negotiating with suppliers as well. So not forgetting that growth is about reducing costs, spending time negotiating prices with your suppliers is almost as important as squeezing the last bits of margin out of your sales revenue. So there's a few reasons to automate there. I'm sure you can think of many, many more. And what this really does is opens up a whole load of things that you perhaps want to be doing on the business. We've talked a little bit about the marketing, merchandising and negotiation with suppliers and working with products and customers, but also, not forgetting the fact that you've got a life to live outside work. Going home on time for yourself and your staff is pretty important. So automation means you can get more work done in the same amount of time and make fewer mistakes. But it's not essential to automate everything in the business. Pick your battles and make sure you automate the things where it makes the most sense. And those are the processes that you do on a regular basis and are effectively just data entry. So that's shipment processing, getting shipments from your order system into your carrier system, and then of course getting that information, the tracking information, all the way back to the sales channel. Also importing accounting data. So your sales order processing software is going to be outputting information that somehow needs to go into your accounting software. That really should be automated, and really that's for the reasons of reducing mistakes as well as saving time. If you're selling on a number of different sales channels, we'll come back to sales channels later, the concept of multi-channel. If you're selling on multiple channels, then updating the inventory levels across those channels is going to be taking a lot of time. And that's a great thing to automate because it's going on all day, every day and all night. So if the systems can do that for you, then you're going to be saving a lot of time. But also in that particular case, you're really reducing the risk of double selling an item, where you sell it to 2 customers but you've only got 1 in stock. Similarly, sales order aggregation. So you're selling on a number of different sales channels, perhaps eBay, perhaps point of sale, perhaps telephone, or even by mail order and email. All of these sales orders need to come into a single system. And if you're having to enter these manually, or even by spreadsheet import, then you're probably spending a lot of time you don't need to be spending on administration. Of course, there's many more places to automate, but that's just a starter. Conversely, where not to automate is just as important. And I've just got a couple of examples here really. Product listing on sales channels is one. And what that means is it means adding the product to the software where the customer can buy it. So maybe that's a point of sale system, maybe that's your e-commerce store, or maybe that's eBay. By all means upload spreadsheets or get the system to bulk upload a certain base framework of the product, but it's really about selling the product, not just listing. And to differentiate yourselves from other merchants, you really need to put a bit of human time in to get really special pictures or really detailed, accurate description that differentiates yourselves and makes the customer buy from you. So maybe partially automate that process. And then the second one here, we've got pick, pack and ship. It's not possible to automate everything at a reasonable cost. And here, for example, you might want to consider carefully how much of the warehouse process you actually automate, because you can't automate everything. Which of course means that what you don't automate, you have to make more efficient. And what this is really is thinking about the processes where you really can't get a computer involved, or you don't want to, or perhaps integrating automatically is just too technically challenging and too cost prohibitive. Efficiency is not just about the software, of course. Efficiency is also about the people. And collaboration with your team is absolutely essential. And collaboration is about sharing information. So that means your salespeople can see your inventory levels. It means that when one of your sales staff, perhaps Emily, goes on holiday, it means that the next person who takes her job for the next week can see what's going on. It's because she's left information for somebody else to pick up. It's also about trust, it's also about writing down processes. There's lots of people factors involved in running an efficient business. And throughout these Commerce Acceleration 101 topics, we'll be looking at this topic of efficiency. Speeding up the physical processes, so doing more in less time. A good example here is batch picking in your warehouse. So say you've got 10 orders that have come in. You don't want to run around the warehouse 10 times and pack each one individually. Ideally you'd run around the warehouse once, pick them all individually, and then pack them all once at the front. And of course preventing mistakes is a great way to improve efficiency, because mistakes cost time, they cost money, and you really don't want to be making them. The next principle on Commerce Acceleration 101 is insight. And insight is absolutely essential for a growing business. Insight basically means that you know what's going on across the board within your business. You know what's selling well, you know what's not selling well, you know what profit you're making, and there's many other different things that make up a good knowledge of your business. But it's not just a gut feeling. Insight is really knowing the business in numbers. And in order to get those numbers in place for you to track, you need a baseline, and then you need to improve them. You need to understand your metrics. So let's have a look at a few metrics that you might want to put in place for a retail or wholesale business. At the top here we've got what we call the cost of sale, and that's the cost of goods sold, plus perhaps any other direct costs such as packaging, or maybe even carrier costs, so shipping costs. Knowing your cost of sale gives you your gross profit, and that's the profitability before you've taken away the expenses. That's a really important number because it lets you know at the sort of the basic level, the seat of the pants level, what kind of profit you're making per sales channel, perhaps per brand, and you can choose which segmentations or which slices you want to take of your gross profit. The next is cost of acquisition. What does it cost to actually get a customer? Are you spending $1 of marketing for $5 of revenue, or are you actually spending $10 of marketing for $5 of revenue? If you are, that's not a great situation to be, but until you've actually put this metric in place in your business, it's actually really hard to decide to improve it. If you discover you're actually spending $1 per $5, then perhaps you don't need to worry too much about it, because that's quite a good place to start. So thirdly, we've got order processing efficiency, and what we mean by that is effectively the time taken to process sales orders, also purchase orders of course. And if it's taking your team 5 minutes to process a sales order, you can put a cost on that. And that cost, once you know it, might affect some of the decisions around the products you stock, the margins you place on those particular products, or even perhaps a minimum cart value on your shopping cart system, or minimum order value for a certain threshold of free shipping. But it's a good number to know, so see if you can work it out. Wastage and drag, of course, is well worth looking at too. So a perfect business will have no wastage. They'll have no returned orders, no defect, no write-off, no product loss. But that's in an ideal world, really. Of course, every business is going to have a certain amount of wastage and drag. So measure it. See how you can put metrics in your business too to track these kind of things. How many sales credits a month? Why are orders coming back? How many cartons get misdelivered? And so on. And I'm sure you can think of plenty of ways to put metrics on your own business. We've also got customer service time, so how much time are you spending with your customers and the quality of that service. Are you measuring the quality? Which of your customer support staff is delivering the best and which is delivering the least? Many ideas. But right at the bottom is net profit, and we'll come back to that at the end, because profit is the key to scalable success. Before we move on to profit, however, let's talk about another one of the principles of commerce acceleration, and that's expansion. And you can expand your business in many different ways. There's a few different ways here. Selling on more sales channels, perhaps opening up eBay, or launching a separate e-commerce store, or maybe multiple e-commerce stores. Increasing your product range. So that's not just adding new SKUs, it's also combining existing SKUs to get a broader market front, if you like, on all of your sales channels. So on an e-commerce store, you might choose to bundle or kit different items together, link them, upsell, buy one get one free, effectively combining existing SKUs to attract a much wider range of customers and increase your revenue at the same time. Expansion is also about selling into your existing customer database. Because you've acquired them already, the cost of acquisition is pretty much zero. And going back to our metrics, it's well worth considering how you can make use of your existing customer database. As you expand, it's essential not to run out of cash. And so many businesses that have to buy product and pay for it, perhaps before they even take the money for it, run out of cash. And they run out of cash because they don't know how much profit they're making. So again, we're going to cover profit in a short while, but let's talk a little bit about sales channels, because successful businesses and commerce acceleration is really about being multi-channel. It's about being where your customers are. And here are a couple of examples of sales channels just to make it really clear. Offline, there's point of sale and wholesale, B2B, so maybe your telephone sales. You've got a number of different e-commerce options, Magento, Shopify. These are different e-commerce platforms, shopping cart systems if you like. And then the online marketplaces, eBay, Amazon, and so on. So we come to now profit, what underlines the reason to be in business. And to know your profit, you have to understand all of your costs. And we talked a little bit about the gross profit, but after that you need to take away your expenses, your overheads, your rent, your wages, and everything like that. And at the bottom of the table comes out net profit. Knowing the net profit allows you to reinvest as much money as possible without going too far. And that's the key really, and knowing your net profit is only possible if you've got a single system that's integrated with every other part of the business. So whether that's your QuickBooks or Sage accounts tied in perfectly to your back office system, or ideally whether it's integrated financials, you need to make sure that you can get your profit reports out really soon after the end of the month. It's no point waiting until the end of the year when really you've probably missed the boat. You need accurate management financials as soon as possible to be able to react quickly, because growing fast is about reaction as well. It's about seeing that something's going well and capitalizing on it because you know how much profit you've got to reinvest, or it's about seeing something not going so well and stopping it sooner so you're not wasting cash on inventory that's just going to sit on the shelf. And that's pretty much the concepts of commerce acceleration. Throughout this series we'll go into more depth, but just as a reminder, don't forget the costs. The profit and the growth is about increasing your revenue, new marketing, new channels, expansion, insight, where to reinvest, where to remarket, but also about the costs. It's about decreasing the cost of product, decrease the cost of shipping, wages, reducing costs through increased efficiency, improved cost of acquisition, improved cost of order processing, and so on. And hopefully, as you start to tune all these different parts of the business, you'll be growing your revenue, reducing your costs, and seeing a vastly improved profit. So later in this series, we're going to be talking about a commerce acceleration platform. And that's the software system that sits in the middle of your business. So this slide here is really just to show you where we're going and how we're going to describe all the different moving parts of your business, with sales channels, marketing, reporting, warehousing, logistics, carriers and shipping, replenishment, so buying more stock, and of course the collaboration aspect, sharing all this information across your entire team. Next is the commerce acceleration journey. Where is your business? And in this webinar, this video and white paper as well, what we'll do is we'll introduce you to the concept of the journey from new business all the way through to fully efficient, growing fast and growing sustainably. So thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of the Commerce Acceleration 101 series at brightpearl.com.